project is designed for retail CBDC, meaning a CBDC that is used like cash. XRP is designed for wholesale, meaning value is sent from bank to bank.
And welcome to BITT. This is our first episode and we're very excited to speak to Stephen Phillips. He's our Vice President of Special Projects. Welcome, Stephen.
Hey Chris, how are you?
I'm great.
Okay.
Now I want to speak to you about our pilot with the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. First of all, what is the pilot? What are the countries involved? And how long is it going to last?
Okay. So what is the pilot? The pilot is a digitization of the Eastern Caribbean dollar. The ECCB has contracted BITT to develop this technology, and we are building new payments infrastructure for them, and it's based on blockchain technology. So what is the pilot? What was the next one?
Which countries are
Which
involved?
countries? So the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, they are the monetary authority for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, which is 8 territories, and the pilot is going to be taking part in 4 of those territories. We have Antigua and Barbuda, St. Lucia, Grenada, and St. Kitts and Nevis. Yeah.
Okay, how long will the pilot last?
So the pilot, for us, we've been developing this technology for them since March last year.
And how?
Today, exotic corridors are illiquid. Ripple is currently working with exotic corridors to make them more liquid with XRP. They're working from the ground up. This slide was taken from the IMF's website. It is from a Ripple presentation. Notice that the central banks listed on this slide are some of these illiquid corridors.
How will this digitization of the Eastern Caribbean dollar impact the way of doing business in these 4 countries?
So that is part of the test, to understand and to get to evaluate the promise of a digital version of a central bank's currency. So the motivations for the ECCB are really around transformation, to evaluate if this technology and greater access to digital payments from the general population, if that can deliver on economic growth, to understand how it will benefit small and medium-sized enterprises with greater access to digital payments again, as well as financial inclusion.
Okay, now when you say financial inclusion, define that for me. Explain that to me and the man on the street.
Sure. So for me, financial inclusion relates to access to financial products. These could be credit products, mortgages, loans, etc. It could also be things like insurance. So any financial service, having access to that financial service. And for a currency union like the ECCU, you have these 8 territories separated by water. This blockchain-based central bank issued digital currency really delivers on the promise for a single economic space. Imagine you're in St. Lucia, you can target customers throughout the entire ECCU, or for the pilot, you would target customers within the other participating territories. But you can understand the potential. You're no longer limited to your geographic island. You have the entire currency union now. So you move from maybe 200,000 potential clients to 700,000 potential clients. Yeah.
Okay, so speaking about that, do we see the ECCB partnering with other central banks within the space in the world, the Central Bank of Barbados and maybe Central Bank of Trinidad, Jamaica? Is there potential to have an interoperable relationship with the digital Eastern Caribbean dollar and those other currencies?
Sure. This is one of the longer-term visions for BITT, the Caribbean Settlement Network. This will allow for central banks to settle transactions between currencies directly without having to go through the US dollar.
The central banks can circumvent the US dollar right now. The only reason the governments are not moving forward is because of war. If you haven't seen my video on XRP gifted to the Fed, please be sure to view it.
This is a longer term vision for us, maybe 5 years away, but digitizing the Eastern Caribbean dollar is one of the key steps along that roadmap. And you may ask why. Because you can have a settlement network and not have a digital dollar, but the value, for me at least, of having a central bank issued digital currency and then the layer on top, the settlement network, where I can exchange my digital dollar in St. Vincent for a digital dollar in Barbados, is that it goes all the way through to the end consumer. I have a mobile app I have a mobile phone on me, like most people do.
A seamless experience where the walled gardens provide retail CBDC or cash within that country, and XRP bridges the world.
Imagine being able to send my friend in Grenada money immediately, and they get it now, and I didn't have to go through a traditional financial services provider like a commercial bank. So while it can be done today without digitizing a central bank's currency, it's kind of less valuable, and the impact for me is potentially lower because it doesn't go all the way through to the last mile, so to speak, where I can effect the payment now, instantly.
Yes. Is this also one of the selling propositions of a central bank digital currency, and how it differs from e-money in that the transaction and the settlement are instantaneous?
Sure. Electronic money is a broad umbrella term. So potentially your deposits at your commercial bank can be seen as electronic money, or your credit card. For me, the difference is where the liability rests. With a central bank issued digital currency, the liability is always with the central bank. So you have that trust, you have that confidence. As you know, commercial banks can become insolvent.
On the wholesale side, there can be an ultra-liquid digital asset that all central banks need to transfer value, and it is broken into microtransactions. And this ultra-liquid asset can have new markets built off the top of it, adding to the liquidity. There will never be another flash crash again. The walled retail gardens that the central banks will have will be bridged with assets, creating a stable financial system.
And then you're reliant on insurance and various other things to recover your losses, and this is something that the central bank would generally manage and protect against, but it's a risk. So for many individuals, having access to a central bank issued digital currency provides that trust and that confidence to make digital payments, and potentially even greater access. It's the cash that you have in your wallet today, just in a digital form.
Okay. Even you have been to all 4 of these territories that the pilot will be conducted in. What's the response been like? Are people excited about it, and how do you feel about it going into it?
Yeah, so people are generally very excited. They want to understand how this is going to transform their lives, and how it can facilitate ease of doing business, and how it can allow them to make easier transfers within the currency union. There is opportunity for a lot more education, and as we get closer, we'll be working more closely with the ECCB to ramp that up. But I would say the general interest is very high, and people have huge expectations, so there's a lot of pressure on our shoulders.
Of course. What's been the most memorable part of this journey for you so far?
That's a difficult question. The most memorable part of the journey for me, I would say, getting started, meeting with individuals, meeting with various stakeholders, seeing the passion on their face for this really world-leading initiative, that has been very impactful along the journey.
Good. Well, Stephen, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for letting us understand a bit more about this pilot. We are very excited about it, and thank you for giving us the insight.
Cheers, it's been my pleasure.
The illiquid corridors are starting first because they need it the most. Ripple has been building liquidity in these areas, and when the powers that be are ready, Ripple's roots run deep. I believe the digital dollar project is tied to Ripple, and the United States government is going to adopt from the private sector in order to keep up with the rest of the world, including China. Darling House has always said, we want to work with the system.